We're going to go through actually setting up the virtual challenge in the RunSignup dashboard. So we're going to assume that you've already created the race in RunSignup and that you've set the event type in the race wizard to virtual race. For any extra steps on how to customize the virtual race setup process, you can visit runsignup.com/go-virtual. There we have a setup guide as well as multiple best practices, tips, and tricks to get started for your virtual race. So let's get started with the implementation of turning on the challenge features. In the race dashboard, we're going to click on Race Day Tools and scroll down to Enhanced Virtual Race, and then we're going to click Setup Virtual Race. So we have a 200 miles of summer event, and we're going to go ahead and enable the enhanced features for the challenge. So the first important things to note here at the top, bibs aren't not required for challenges. However, we do strongly recommend that you do bib assignment. That allows you to use our pre-race bib functionality for runners to share their bib on social media and encourage others to participate in your challenge. The text messages are not allowed for challenges because text messages were designed for a one-day event where challenges people are going to submit multiple activities over and over, and we do require them to come directly to your results page on RunSignup or log their activities through their profile. The next section here to get started is the registration instructions. This is custom text that you can put during the registration process to let participants know that they can sign up for email alerts for the race, or they can choose to opt out, and this allows you to customize the messaging there. Next up, we have our results settings. This is when you start accepting results and how long results will be accepted before the leaderboards are fully finalized. And since this is a summer challenge, we're going to go ahead and start on the first day of summer, and we're going to allow people to record all the way through until the last day of summer here. Very simple with the result settings. Next is to create a result set. So we'll just check on this box, create new result set, and by default it's going to name the same event as the results. You can customize this if you want. And the bread and butter of the challenge is this multiple activity toggle. So pretty much all challenges will want to allow participants to submit multiple activities. That allows somebody to come in daily, weekly, or however to record their activities to accumulate to complete your challenge. Also, challenges are typically around a tally option or some sort of distance completed. So we definitely recommend the distance option being turned on. Time is optional, but it's also a good thing to have for participants to submit during their activities. For this particular event, we're doing a distance challenge of 200 miles over the summer, and so we'll expand our tally type, and we're going to choose distance in miles, but you'll notice there is a custom option as well as number of laps and yards, meters, and kilometers. So if you're doing like a plank challenge or a push-up challenge, you can use a custom option, and they would just log how many push-ups or planks they've done, or if you're doing a lap setup, you can record number of laps. For this example, we'll use distance in miles, and we'll see the label is automatically listed as distance in miles. We do also have elevation gain, so if you're doing some sort of stair climb challenge or a bike challenge, you can allow people to post the elevation that's been gained as well. Results are going to get sorted for this by who's completed the most distance. That's a typical way that results are being sorted, who's progressed through the challenge the farthest, and then if people are tied, it would do a tiebreaker with the time. The minimum allowed time and maximum allowed time, this is going to be how much time you can post per activity. So if we want to be pretty generous, if somebody just wants to do 1 mile or so, so we can just do 5 minutes as the minimum recording activity, and we're going to go pretty much above and beyond for the maximum time just to allow anybody to complete as many miles as they want, and we'll just cap it at 12 hours. These next settings require race director approval for each posted time. Don't typically recommend that for challenges because you're going to have lots of people recording daily, and that's going to force you to go in and approve every single activity. So we recommend that off for challenges. You can also allow participants to indicate that they completed an activity but not provide an actual time, but you can also set the options in the activity types later. So we definitely recommend just the last checkbox to be on for challenges, which allows participants to not necessarily have to be logged into RunSignup to record their activity, and that can really cut down on some support. So that's the basic setup. We'll go ahead and click Save. And the challenge feature is on and working. Everything else is kind of additional features that you can turn on. So we're going to continue from left to right through our enhanced virtual race wizard here. So we're going to click Activity Types, and we're going to add an activity type. Now we have different options here. We're going to choose Run for the first activity type, but you can see we have Ride, Swim, Walk, Ski, Paddle, Row, and even custom activity types for those like planks or stair challenges and things like that. So we're going to choose Run as the activity type. We're going to keep the default in miles. And for running activity, because it's a 200-mile summer challenge, if somebody wants to run the whole time, we're going to allow them to accumulate 200 miles running. The show field for activity tally total, this is going to be in the results tab as its own separate column. So you'll have the total distance completed, and then you can also segment these activity types with, okay, out of that total distance, how much of it did they run, how much of it did they bike, and things like that. So we're going to turn that on for this setting and continue through. We're going to leave the time entry optional. If somebody wants to provide the time that it took them to run, they can, but we're trying to be inclusive here in this challenge, so we're going to make that optional. Now they won't be able to get ranked if they're tied with somebody, but if they want to choose to put in their time, they definitely can. We're not going to do splits for this one. Splits would be typically for like a triathlon setup where you want the time for each activity and the required minimum and maximum number of events here. If you hover over this infographic, you'll notice that if you enable the require at least one activity, then that requires you to log all activity types at one time. So if you're doing like a CrossFit challenge where it's going to be push-ups, pull-ups, planks, and you want everything to be recorded in one session, then you would turn on to require at least one activity of this type to get that done. For this example, we're not going to do that. Also, triathlon examples, you can require them to do the swim, bike, and run all at the same time. So we'll add another activity type, and we're going to choose bike for this one. So we're going to allow people to do a ride. And again, if they want to ride the whole way, they can put 200 in for the maximum total. Again, the goal is 200 in total. They can do however many of each or 200 for just one activity. It's already defaulted into miles. We'll choose optional, and we'll also show the tally in the results for how many cumulative miles they've done. So that's it. You can add as many activity types as you want. These are not required, so if your challenge is complete all running or all biking, you don't have to add an activity type. That's the activity by default. But if you have more than one activity, this is where you can add those. So we'll save the page. That returns us back to the basic setup. And now we'll go into the messaging and notifications section. So again, text messaging does not work for challenges, and it's not supported. So that should be left to be off. You can set up your own details page if you want to navigate to a custom landing page that you want to promote the challenge. You can definitely do that, and you can check this box to include the link of the details of your URL, or if you have a video explaining the challenge or kind of demonstrating what it is and how to log activity, you can link to that YouTube channel as well. That will allow you to completely replace the RunSignup page with this link, and what that does is in this default messaging, instead of replying to the RunSignup link, it will replace it with the race page that you've set up. So this is a really advanced setting, but if you have taken the time to create a landing page or a promotional marketing page of your virtual series, then this is what you want to set up. The welcome message is optional, but you can turn that on. So the welcome message could be, the first day of summer here. So we're going to set up June 20th, 2020. The default messages lets know it's race day, but this is a challenge. So you can kind of customize this. It's like the summer challenge is here. And the replacement tag has to be in this message. And this replacement tag will actually be this message here. So you can see what it looks like. it'll say for details, go to the RunSignup race page, or if you had used this setting up here, it'll say for details, go to your custom link. If somebody registers after the day of this message, they will still get this message. So if somebody registers July 1st, they will still get this message in the following day at 8 a.m. to let them know that it's still, the summer challenge is here and whatever custom content you did. There's also a result submission instructions when you set that up, and you can keep people posted on how to submit results. And you can have that go out the same day as your initial message here. So we'll just have that go out a little bit later. So we let people know the challenge is here, but we're going to come back and say 10:05 a.m. We're going to let them know this replacement tag here. And again, if you scroll up to the replacement tag, what this shows is right here. It lets you know to post Johnny Q Public's results, go here, and it'll kind of link them right to it. And you can customize this message. You can use the editor toolbar. You can even go into source code, adding images and other custom links if you need to. The reminder messages, these are all optional, but you can remind people and encourage them throughout the race. So maybe we want to give them, a month into the challenge. We want to go to July 20th and just give them some words of encouragement. You can customize what the message looks like if somebody hasn't even submitted an activity yet, versus customize the message for people who have submitted activities. And this is, again, an automated message for you to kind of set up and keep people going, kind of like a little miniature drip campaign. These are all optional. You don't have to set these up, but we're going to go ahead and delete this message. And one way to delete the reminder message is to just put your cursor into the date and click delete like that. The very last option here is results upload instructions. This is an opportunity for you to put custom text on the page where somebody would be submitting their activity and results, whether you offer encouraging words of wisdom, whether you put some sort of sponsor mantra on there, or just literally instructions on how to do that. You can put whatever you want in the results upload instructions section as well. So we'll go ahead and just click save. And that'll bring us back to the last section, which is our goals. So the goal section is pretty simple. We're going to turn on that this race does have a goal because it's a 200-mile challenge, and we're going to say that that is the same goal for all participants. So we're going to select 200. If you wanted to just keep people motivated and maybe it's just like a fitness overall, you can let participants define their own goals by turning that option on. And the default would be allowed to show the goal progress bar. So if I've accumulated 100 miles, I'll be at 50%, and so forth. One really neat feature is if you have a map, you can set up a distance. So say the 200 miles is the distance between our Moorestown, New Jersey office and Richmond office. You can upload a map of that, which is a KML file, and you can have participants watch their progress along a predefined map. So we're seeing a lot of different challenges run across the different states, and so you can basically take the westernmost point of the state and the easternmost point of the state and log them together, and that's your total miles challenge. And as participants run through, not only do they have their progress bar because they know the total distance, but they can actually see where in the map that they are. So that's a really neat feature, and I recommend creating a KML file of a generic course map with the distance to let people know they're either doing the state run across the state challenge or some sort of milestone between distances. So for this purposes, we're not going to upload that. We're just going to go ahead and click save. And there you have it. That's all it takes to set up the events. In the next video, we'll go through what that looks like from the front end, but this was just how you set up your challenge in the back end.